Hey, this is Wayne and Cindy Rodgers with the 416 podcast. This is the interview series, and today we're sitting down with Kyle Gilpin, and we're going to talk about the work at the Eastside congregation in Cleveland, Tennessee. And so, Kyle, thank you for sitting down with us to begin with. But introduce yourself to those who may not know, and tell us a little bit about the work.
Kyle Gilpin, my wife Kelly and I, we have 4 children, Brody, Carly, Connor, and Hayden. We work at the Eastside congregation in Cleveland, Tennessee. Have been there almost 2 years. We had previously worked there 10 years ago or so as an associate youth minister, and returned back to there. Memphis graduate class of 2008. What else you want to know?
All right, well, let's talk. You brought up Memphis, so let's talk about Memphis for just a minute. So you graduated in 2008, so you were the year ahead of us.
That's right.
And we got to spend at least a year at school together. That was fun. But tell us a little bit about your experience at the School of Preaching, and tell us a little, maybe a highlight of your time there as well.
Sure, yeah. Of course, Memphis has been a part of my life, my whole life. I was born in Memphis when my dad was a student there, 84. He graduated in 85, and so I've been associated with that school my whole life, and preaching hadn't always been what I wanted to do, but when I decided that's what I wanted to do, there wasn't really another choice for me. That was not because I felt like I had to, but that was just like, the choice, you know. And so I guess it was a good experience to be a part of that work there. And I guess a highlight for me, or a couple of them, I guess more of a general one, is a lot of folks that I met, you guys and people that were in my class and the class before us, and just, we still talk to them and you see them, and that's been a highlight for me. But for a personal highlight for me, my dad's first year at school was Curtis Caton's first year as director. And my first year, I guess, was his last year as director. And so we kind of bookended him like that, and I don't know, that kind of was special. And I don't know if you talked about him on this podcast or not, but he's been a big part of my life.
Absolutely. Several have mentioned Brother Cates, and certainly was a big part of the reason that I wanted to come to the school, and to be able to study at his feet as well as the others as well. But when I think about the Memphis School of Preaching, one of the things, of course, like you say, the camaraderie that you have with fellow students, and the closeness that you get. And I know we've got folks that we're all close to, continue to be close with their families and stuff. One of the things that I always think about is how that has strengthened and kind of kept us going through the years too. And so it's a great part of our work. Is there anything that you would say to somebody who's thinking about preaching, as far as, go on to school, go to Memphis School of Preaching, was there, if they were preparing for that?
Yeah. I would, maybe a couple of things. I know that if you want to go, I would make sure, as Bobby Liddell told us, you better make sure that that's what you want to do. First of all, if you can do anything else, do it. I would tell someone that was wanting to go to make sure that they had a couple of years of either work experience where they were working in the secular world, or for me, I know what was beneficial for me is that I had a couple of years where I had gone to college. I know there are some that do it. I've got a good friend who came right out of high school and was doing great stuff. I couldn't do that. I needed a couple of years in, I guess, the real world and learn how to study, that sort of thing, because it is so, to me anyway, it was so fast. Just the course of study and the things you had to do. And I was married, and my wife kept me grounded and balanced, that sort of thing. But if I were single and had not had any kind of experience with studying, in college, I don't know that I would make it. So that would be something. Make sure that you got your study habits down before you go.
Absolutely, it's like drinking from the proverbial fire hose, right?
Absolutely, it's right on. I know some people start, in January.
I don't know how they do that. All right, let's talk about the Eastside work, and I know that you also, not just serving as the minister there, but you also work in the community at one of the schools too. So you can talk about that a little bit, and then we'll kind of transition into what the work at Eastside looks like.
Several years ago, and this has always been a kind of a dream of mine, was to be a teacher, and always enjoyed things like history, and always wanted to work with young people, whether at college or high school. And several years ago, my wife and I decided that I'd start working towards that end, kind of with the goal that I could do both. And I didn't know how that would look like, how that would work, but The opportunity here came available here in Cleveland, and the elders were gracious enough to say, look, we'd like for you to work with us and primarily do the preaching, as well as some of the other, regular things that preachers do, but also they would allow me to do teaching. And so for the past almost a year now, it's been I've been full-time teaching at the high school here in Cleveland, and made a lot of good connections and young people and that kind of thing, relationships with them. So I'm hoping that a light kind of shines there in the community, doors open, that sort of thing. But we're also working with the church here, preaching and teaching, that sort of thing.
Is there anything that's particularly difficult, maybe? I know we're in East Tennessee, and the church is strong in East Tennessee, obviously, but is there anything that's particularly difficult, maybe, about the area?
I guess maybe I go in the other direction, not that it's too easy, but the difficulty being that there is so much quote-unquote Christianity. You have those who so much denominationalism, where we are I don't know if it's if it's the American capital or the headquarters. I think it's the world headquarters of the Church of God is there in town, and so we've got lead universities there in town, and so it's I guess the difficulty thing would be, how do you stand out in all that noise?
That's good. I hadn't really thought about that, but I know Lee University's there too. One thing that Cindy and I are trying to do through the work of 416 Ministries is trying to obviously encourage preachers. And so I'd like to ask, has there been a particular time in ministry that was particularly difficult, where you really were maybe discouraged, and something that helped you through that might help someone else as well?
Yeah, this preaching is in many ways it's a lonely thing. He handles responses from the congregation or from problems are there, but not too many people are checking on him. So one of the things for me, and everywhere that I've been, which isn't many places, but I've always had people who are doing the same thing that I'm doing, whether they're right down the road 5 minutes from me, or with communication these days, you can talk to anybody anywhere. But just kind of knowing that people are kind of going through the same thing that you're going through has always been kind of helpful to me. It seemed like whatever situation we're in, whether it was looking to move or any kind of problems, it seems like there's someone that's kind of going through the same thing that we were. Right. And so just having people to say, I know what you're going through, and I understand.
Yeah.
That
just knowing that somebody's there.
Yeah.
At a phone call away at the very least, or even a text sometimes. Just something small that kind of keeps you going through the day.
Yeah, because
it goes a long way.
Sometimes you really don't know if you're making the right decision doing one thing, whether it's something big like moving, or if it's something small like how your day-to-day routine. But to know that someone says, I'm either going through that, or I've done that, or that sort of thing, that to me was always helpful, as far as, and I guess that's a part of that encouragement thing that you talk about.
That's true. Yeah. I know Cindy's got a question as well she'd like to ask.
Yes, I always try to find out something unique about the area, and I'm always interested in coffee. And so what is a good coffee shop if someone was in Cleveland and visiting? Where would you recommend them to go?
Yeah, that's a good question. Several places in town. I haven't tried them all. We have some members that go to Eastside with us. They own the Thousand Hills Farm. They've done all kinds of stuff. Wesley and Denise Skelton. They don't have a coffee shop, but they get green beans and roast them and send them all over the place.
We've been drinking it this weekend. It's delicious.
That's right. We any chance we can get to drink their coffee, that's really good. They don't have a shop. Cleveland has a place called Bond Life in town. They've won several. I like the AeroPress. I don't use it anymore, but I used to have one. They've won several awards from their AeroPress, and so I've gone there a few times. And
nice.
I like that coffee shop. So
thank you.
Plug that.
Very cool.
And thanks for this weekend. It's been great.
Absolutely, it's been great to have you guys.
Y'all need to tell them where we're at, because it's a weird atmosphere.
It's a little different setting.
It may fall a while ago.
A lot of things are happening in the background. We are with Eastside at their fall family retreat. We are at Camp Wetoga in North Georgia mountains, right on the edge of the Blue Ridge Mountains, and it's beautiful here. It's fall, so it is beautiful. But we've had a great time, and so thanks for inviting us here, and appreciate you sitting down with us. We'll certainly put all the links in the show notes and in the description below, and as well for the Thousand Hills coffee and a link to them so that you can maybe purchase something from them. I know love buying something from the Brotherhood. That's great. But again, thank you for paying attention to us and the work that we're doing and for supporting us, and we'll see you further down the road.